From the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, this is the EntreLeadership podcast, where I take calls from leaders like you about what it takes to win at any stage of business and leadership. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host, with over 30 years of experience leading in the trenches right alongside you. If you want to submit a question, go to EntreLeadership.com/ask, or you can leave a voicemail, and either way, we'll get you set up to be a caller here. Voicemail number is 844-944-1070. That's 844-944-1070. Jason is in Canada. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Excellent, Dave. Thank you very much.
Cool. How can we help today?
Well, Dave, after learning the hard way about not to hire and hiring mistakes, we've carefully followed your advice and we're able to hire a true thoroughbred, and we're happy about that. However, I'm hoping you can help us with how to coach a thoroughbred through challenges without squashing their ambition.
Such as?
Well, the individual we have is a real problem solver and has been a great asset. And when they see a problem in the company, they're eager to go out and solve. What we've noticed is sometimes they're stepping into other folks' responsibilities, and I'm worried about them both taking on other people's roles inadvertently and risking burnout. Additionally, I've noticed they've had some little patience with younger staff and junior staff in the learning phase. So I'm hoping you can help to guide us on how to get them through this phase.
Okay, what is this person's role? What is their job title? What do they do?
They're an office manager.
Okay, so their job is to manage the office, and so the things that they're working on then fall under office management or outside of office management?
Well, there's some specific roles because we're a company of about 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
So some specific roles, they do have some operational titles as well. So they would handle things such as maintenance requests and service and repair requests.
But I mean, the problem that they jumped over into somebody else's area to solve, was it under their management, or was it and they just didn't let the subordinate have time to fix it and they went and fixed it for them, or is this something outside of their job description?
You could say that the subordinate would report to them rather than letting the subordinate do it. They would go and do it for them.
Okay, so that's not, okay. All right. And so, but you hired them very clearly, and they know that their job is to be a leader and to run the office.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I think we just sit down and have some clarification and go, look, your problem-solving skills are amazing, and your initiative and your ambition is amazing. I'm real happy with that. But we hired you to lead this team, not do all their work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you do something for someone rather than teach them how to do it, the next time it comes up, you get to do it again. And that's not your job. Your job is to teach them how to do it. And part of being a teacher is having patience and bringing people along. Part of being a teacher, part of being a leader is being a teacher. And you teach someone how to do something, and then you hold them accountable to that series of behaviors, and that's your job. And so it's not your job to do all the work. Your job is to make sure the work gets done through the people. And so this is a leadership discussion we're having here now. And so how you're leading is you're not leading. You're doing it for people. And because you're so driven, and that's awesome, and we're getting the work done. But the problem is we're setting up a system here, a set of processes that aren't working, because the goal of that subordinate being there is for them to do the work.
Exactly. We want to grow and we can't.
Yeah, we can't, because you're doing everything. You got the whole world in your hand. I mean, you're like, come on. I mean, you can't do the whole thing. The whole purpose of leadership is learning how to delegate. And if the subordinate is incompetent, we can talk about that. But if they just haven't been trained yet because you haven't trained them, then that's a different thing. So I think you just open up a dialogue and say, okay, you and I are going to start working on this together, because just like I'm asking you to show them how to do their job, I'm going to show you how to do yours.
Yeah.
And I'm going to walk alongside you, and we're going to talk about how we process that, because it's not as important that the work get done as it is how it got done. How it got done is you taught the person to do it and they did it, not you did it for them. because that's not scalable. If you learn how to teach people how to do work you can't do, don't know how to do, or won't do, or whatever, then now we've got a scalable, delegatable environment. And yes, that requires some patience with them. And so what you've got is someone who execute tasks well and their people skills are low.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. And that's a good person. That's a trainable person. If they have enough humility to listen to you when you're doing this, you do have a thoroughbred. Now, if they're arrogant about it and they're like, no, it's not, they just don't know what they're doing, then you really don't have a thoroughbred. You just got a go-getter. And so, yeah, Pat Lencioni talks about this in the book, The Ideal Team Player. If you've got someone who is hungry, but they're not people smart and they're not humble, they'll run over everybody. And we mistake them for being a high-producing person because they're so hungry and so driven. But that's just one of the elements. You got to be people smart and have a sense of humility as well. And the humility is not lacking in confidence. It's that you're other-centered rather than self-centered. That's all humility is. Mm-hmm. And so your job is to be the mother hen, or your job is to be the coach, or your job is to lovingly lead and teach and cause this work to get done through these people, not in spite of these people. These people that we've hired that work on your team are not an impediment. They're not a problem to be worked around. They're the answer to the equation. And so our job as leaders is to lift them up, get them into the saddle, get them going, and that's the direction I would go with that. So, hey, really, really good question. And I love the way you phrased it. So, well done. Sounds like you got a good business going there. Very, very cool. These days, business as usual is anything but. Tariffs make trade policy a moving target, supply chains are squeezed, and your cash flow is tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you're in a world of hurt. That's why you need NetSuite by Oracle, trusted by more than 41,000 businesses, including Ramsey Solutions. You need to see what's happening, what's stuck, and what's costing you, and how to fix it. NetSuite is the #1 cloud-based business management suite because it helps your business make the right decisions fast. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one place, so you're not left shuffling a dozen different spreadsheets. That gives you the visibility you need to make quick decisions based on actionable data. And NetSuite AI automates everyday tasks so your team can focus on strategy. It's one system for full control and no guesswork to tame the chaos. And right now, if your business is doing $1 million or more in annual revenue, download NetSuite's free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders, at netsuite.com/Ramsey. That's netsuite.com/Ramsey. As a small business owner, it's your job to set expectations for each role in your company, like we were just talking about, and then make sure the expectations are met. Oh, there we go, like we were just talking about. But you can't hold your team accountable to something you didn't communicate. Our free key results area template will help you set expectations and create role clarity for every member of your team. And until you've done that, you're going to have problems. So you feel confident that everyone's working on the right things to drive the business forward. Go to EntreLeadership.com/role clarity and download the template for free. Did I mention it's free? And start setting clear expectations for the team. Everybody will be happier. Tyler's in Boise, Idaho. Hey, Tyler, what's up?
Hey, Dave. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure, man. How can we help?
My wife and I run an e-commerce business that started as a side hustle 6 years ago. We have 4 employees, including ourselves, and last year we grossed $9 million.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. As our business grew, I found partners and vendors to delegate tasks to rather than hiring internal employees. The partners are doing a decent enough job handling the work, but after reading your book, specifically The Driver of People, I am wondering if using partners and vendors is a good way to continue growing our business, or should I invest in building our own team?
Typically, and I won't say it's an always rule, but most of the time, bringing some of the tasks in-house, if you have a steady, predictable cash flow environment where you can do that, bringing the task in-house is cheaper. Typically, it'll save you money. For instance, if you were hiring a programmer to write some code for a website, you can outsource that pretty easily. And we did and have off and on for years done that. But it's close to double of what it would cost me to hire that person and bring them in here and keep them as a full-time team member. And so, but I have to have a steady flow of work, no ebb and flow of work, and I have to have a steady flow of cash to be able to pay them, right? So once we had enough work demand to start hiring web programmers, we started hiring software engineers and web programmers, and versus contracting it out, it saved us a ton of money. And we've got a lot more quality control, and we have 100% focus on us. When you're dealing with outside freelancers, they have other customers. When you're dealing with an employee, they got one customer, me, right? And so total focus, and you got cultural alignment and mission alignment and stuff versus, we don't tell other people how to run their businesses. So with a vendor, they get to do whatever they want to do with their culture and their other stuff. And so we don't know that. But again, it would require a steady flow of cash, which you're making a ton of money, so that's not an issue as long as that cash is fairly steady and you can make payroll. And I would just analyze it and go, okay, what is it I'm doing? I mean, is it SEO work, or is it code, or are we doing creative, or what would be an example of one you might bring in house, and could you do a cost comparison on it?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the other half of why I'm bringing this up. When we were smaller, it kind of was irrelevant. But now, I did a cost analysis on fulfillment.
Yeah.
And we would save about half. And then our marketing placement, I don't think we'd save money, but the person, like you said, would be fully dedicated to us, which right now they probably have a dozen other clients. So I'm thinking that makes a lot of sense.
The focus of that on a marketing campaign executed flawlessly because of 100% focus is probably worth its weight in gold.
Okay.
That's one I would definitely look at. Fulfillment, I don't know. I mean, we outsource the bulk of our fulfillment. We have a shipping department internally that does a lot of specialty and custom stuff and small order stuff and that kind of thing. But stuff that runs high volume, like if you buy a Total Money Makeover or an EntreLeadership book on our website, that's coming out of an outside fulfillment company, because we found the opposite there, that we could execute a contract with them cheaper than try to build a whole warehouse and bring all that stuff in. But we're doing massive volume, and the physical infrastructure needed to do it didn't make sense for us. And so that put a different spin on it, where it was actually cheaper to outsource it than it is to. I mean, our break even on having warehouse and tow trucks and forklifts and not tow trucks, forklifts and OSHA regulations and all that bull crap, man. It was just no, thank you. Yeah. So for us, but again, that's we're talking about a massive warehouse operation. So it's not a small thing, but but most of your stuff's digital, isn't it?
No, we ship a lot of physical products.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, so we
if you can, that's exactly the way to look at it, though. You're doing it correctly. If you've done the analysis and it's cheaper for you to keep it in-house, then do it. Because we kept ours in-house for a long, long time. It had to get to ridiculous volume stuff before it made sense to take it out. And we actually looked at it in this last contract renewal, whether we're going to bring it all in. We looked at it again as one of the possibilities. We were looking at 2 different vendors and the possibility of bringing it back in-house. And it was a cost analysis, just like you're doing. So the cost analysis will be the answer to your question. There's no thing that you're doing wrong just because you're using outside vendors. It's not wrong.
Okay.
It's not to say, oh no, you always should build a huge team. No, no, we only build a huge team if it's the most efficient way to get the work done.
Okay, that's good to know, because I'm not the best at finding qualified people, and that's probably what's kept me from growing the team. Is it's just easier to push it to someone else. But now that our scale has increased so much, I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this maybe doesn't make sense anymore. So,
well, that may be a skill you need to develop anyway.
Yeah,
where you don't feel that way about yourself, and because you are going to need some key people to scale. You've done an amazing. Your team ratio to your gross is 4 to 9 million. It's pretty impressive. And yet, if you had 2 or 3 other people bringing rocket fuel in there, what else would happen? Oh my gosh! So yeah, I would challenge you to work on that skill and get comfortable with your competency in that. But it is not to say that, oh no, we'll always have everything outsourced, because the same skill you're using to hire and bring on thoroughbreds is the same skill you'd be using to select a high-quality vendor. It's still a human being executing the stuff.
Yeah, which I learned mostly through trial and error.
Yeah, well, we all have. Me too. And so that's why the hiring and firing lesson in EntreLeadership, or if you go into the elite materials and the elite members, and they get in these advisory groups with our coaches and all, it's the number one thing that comes up is hiring and firing. It's the number one pain point in business by all of us. All of us. When I teach that lesson at EntreLeadership events, it always gets the higher scores than if I teach something else. And so, and just because it's a felt need, and meaning that we all are trying to build that competency. So I think you're probably doing better than you feel like you are, but I would push it on through and get comfortable with the whole idea. Charlie is in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Hey, Charlie, what's up, man?
Hey, Dave. How you doing today?
Better than I deserve. How can I help?
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. Big fan. I'm the CEO of a vertically integrated cannabis company with between 32 and 36 employees, depending on the time of year, doing about $8 million in revenue each year. And my question for you is, I'm having difficulty creating an effective delegation and follow-up system for my team of managers across a couple different facilities. Essentially, I got a lot of young guys working for me who are hungry and super knowledgeable, but nobody really has any true experience with management and delegation. And I'm trying to not bog my life down in follow-up meetings every single week, essentially.
How many direct reports have you got?
I've got 6.
Okay, that's not too many. If those 6 people are basically running this business, and that's how it should be structured, you're not bogging your life down by meeting with them. If you don't meet with them once a week, you need to meet with them once every 2 weeks. And it doesn't need to be but an hour meeting. And it's a update on personal things. You need a standard meeting rhythm with them. It's an update on personal things. It's an update on company things, and it's an update on accountability to their direct position and to whatever projects you talked about the last time you got together. And so, like one guy's needing to hire 2 people in the store. Next week we talk. Okay, how's the hiring going? Right. Or something like that. And so you need that rhythm. The structure around it is a couple of things. We'll pan back for a second and say delegation philosophically from a principle standpoint cannot occur until you trust someone's competency and their integrity.
Uh-huh.
Now, that does not mean you take your hand off the wheel and they go drive the car by themselves, but it does mean that they have shown the ability to drive while you sit in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And they're not going to kill both of you, okay?
Right.
And so competency is the ability to do it. Integrity is to do it the way that you all teach to do it at your place. What does your brand values and your brand differentiation require them to be in order to be a we? And so that's your basics. If you don't have that, If you've got an incompetent store manager, there's no system or accountability. Or if you've got someone that you can't trust, not only to not steal, but also to simply not implement the way we've discussed, then we've started from a bad foundation, and no accountability system or templates or process will guide you through that. Nothing will work because you're dealing with, some weak players, and the weak players can't play no matter how much you delegate.
Yeah, and that's not the problem. The players are actually pretty strong.
Okay.
I think that the issue, and it probably stems from me to a certain degree, is the attempt at delegation, and then when things don't happen, the innate or natural gravitation to just going back to the idea of okay, it's not getting done, so I just must do it myself, which just kind of creates that intense bogged down workload.
Yeah, that's what you're doing there is you're confusing delegation with training.
Okay.
So you're not micromanaging when someone's not able to do a particular task at the speed you want it done. Now it's time for you to step in and train them. And that may involve you doing it, but it may involve you holding their hand while they do it 2 times, and so the 3rd time they can do it partially by themselves with you looking closely over their shoulder, and the 6th time you can do it without. And the story we always tell is a guy shows up in my office and he says, "We've got a problem." And I'm like, "What's our problem?" And he says, "Well, this, and this." And I'm like, "Well, we don't have a problem. You got a problem. You need to go back and give me 3 solutions on how to fix that problem." And when he comes back in, he and I go over the 3 solutions, A, B, or C, and say, "Okay, which one do you think we ought to do?" "I think we ought to do A." "Well, that's a good one, but C's better in this case, and here's why." And I teach him. And then I send him back out. The next time he comes in, he goes, "We got a problem, and I know you want 3 solutions. Here's the 3 solutions, and I know you're going to want to know which one, and I think B in this case." And I'm like, "Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that's okay. Go do B." And then he comes back in the next day and says, "We got a problem, A, B, and C." And he goes, and in this case, C is the one, and I'm going to go do that. Is that okay? And I'm like, "Yeah, go do it." And the next day he walks by my office and waves and said, "We had a problem, and I fixed it."
Amazing.
That's training. Okay,
that's true.
But I taught him the implication or the application of our values, the principles that we use, and decision-making paradigms at Ramsey. And he gets that dialed in, and then he is competent to execute, and I don't feel the need to come in and put out the fire for him because he knows where the fire extinguisher is. And so, but he did it in a way that I'm comfortable with, which is a type of competency. See, someone can actually know how to run a retail store and not know how to run a retail store the way you want yours run.
Right.
There are 2 different types of competency there. There's one within a culture and one that's just general skill set. And general skill set has to be adapted to be within your culture to be competent. And so when you have one of these guys on fire and you have the temptation to jump in, yeah, you are the problem here. You're right. You need to not jump in and do it for them unless you make them, place their hand on the back of your hand as you're guiding the car and let them feel what it feels like this time. So next time I'm going to take my hand off, put your hand on, and stand here while you do it. And so, minor course corrections. It is not micromanaging to not let someone who's not competent or doesn't have integrity do business.
Right.
That's just smart.
Yeah.
And so you are training until then. You're training and training and training and training. Then I'll add to that some communication tools. Go to the elite site at EntreLeadership and download the free template for the KRA. It's called Key Results Area. And it lays out exactly what their job is. It's a job description of sorts. And then the 2 of you sit and go over it. And so what you're saying is when you do these 3 things, you are winning. By definition, if you are doing something else, you're not winning. If you're not doing all 3 of them, you're not winning. And if you're not doing all 3 of them the way we teach here at our company, you're not winning. Winning looks like this. But sometimes we take people out and we just point over there and we say, hey, go bowling, and then we turn out the lights and there's noise, but nobody knows if we're winning.
Yeah, definitely.
And so you need stuff like a KRA template to be able to do this, and then you've got something to manage through the week. And so if you have, these meetings are very, very quick, especially for people that are eager. And it sounds like you've got good, solid, raw material to work with. You've just got to polish up the flow of information and the flow of productivity.
And if I'm running, because I've got a separate retail store and a separate warehouse and a separate manufacturing facility and a satellite office, all within 15 minutes of each other, is it effective? Is it more effective to be doing these meetings in person and driving around?
Yes. It's only 15 minutes.
I kind of knew that was going to be your answer.
Yeah. But here's the thing: if you set them as a fixed point on the calendar, I've done this for 30 years. I've got fixed meetings every single week.
Okay.
My son Daniel is the president of Ramsey. At 11 o'clock on Thursday, he and I have our one-on-ones. At 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning, we have a father-son breakfast. And we have for 20 years.
Wow.
But our one-on-one meeting as president to CEO has only happened since he's been in that president's seat. This is the first time he's ever reported to me directly, and that's only happened for 4 years. But it's 11 o'clock every Thursday. Now, he's out of town this week at the beach with his family, so we're not doing it this week, okay? But if we're here in the office, my assistant, his assistant doesn't book anything across that. That's sacred territory.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure.
And so, you just set up and go, warehouse guy, and you could make the rounds. You don't even have to make them do it. You can say on Monday morning, I'm going to be at the warehouse, which is probably good anyway, because you could spend 10 minutes walking through the place and smell the air, I don't want to smell the air at a cannabis place, but anyway, too many jokes you left on the table with your job, okay? But anyway,
I know, I'm sorry.
You said they were hungry too, and I thought about that, but yeah. But yeah, you walk through the air, sense the presence, sense the spirit of the warehouse and what's going on with the people. You're going to see stock that's being mishandled, things that are disorganized, and then you pop into the meeting and you go, "Hey, man, that corner back there's got to be cleaned up. This disorganization's killing me."
And would you suggest like having kind of like a set agenda?
Oh, definitely.
For each one of those? Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And, you need to spend 15, 20 minutes just making sure they're okay. Wife and kids, husband, kids, whatever, all that's okay.
Yeah.
Your grandma's got cancer. We need to check on everybody, right? And you got to remember to do that. These are human beings. Treat them like family. They are. You're running a small business. It's a benefit of that. And then but anyway, you do that, and then you go, okay, I need to see what is it you need help from me on. Because some things you need to knock down for them to make them, you need to be the door kicker in some cases, right?
Right.
Because there's some stuff only you can do to help their job happen. And then you go, okay, those 3 things we talked about last week about getting that guy hired, getting that corner cleaned up, we got to get that front door fixed. It's weird when people walk in. It sounds funny. Whatever. It's stupid little stuff, but it's driving you nuts. And if you'll download it, you're not burning calories carrying it around.
Totally.
And the productivity goes through the roof.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So good stuff, man. Yeah. You're a great young leader. I can sense that you've got your people's heart and that you are really self-aware, that you've got a little bit of a growth curve here that's awesome in front of you. And I think this stuff's going to help you a bunch. So I appreciate you calling in, man. Good stuff. Very, very, very well done. Thanks for hanging out with us, America. This is the EntreLeadership podcast. If you like what you're hearing, we need your help. Share the show. Tell people about the show. Click the like button, the follow button, the subscribe button, whatever those little buttons are. They're all helpful, I can tell you that, because it changes the algorithms. The more people are doing all that stuff, it pushes the show forward on the internet thingy, and all of a sudden, man, we got stuff happening because you people shared the show. You're our only marketing hope. Thank you. If you like what you hear, let people know about it, please. Thank you, thank you. And 5-star reviews, all that stuff helps too, yeah. Ken is in Huntsville, Alabama. Hi, Ken. Welcome to the EntreLeadership podcast. What's up?
Hey, Dave. Good to finally talk to you.
You too.
Hey, so have a commercial drywall company here in Huntsville. Last year, our revenue was $5.6 million with a net profit of 1.3, which doesn't sound bad. But my question to you is, I'm looking to grow it even more. This is year number 9. It's starting to feel a little stagnant. I have a total of 12 employees plus 30 plus subcontractors. And drawing in talent has been an issue for us. So I guess, should I look for a recruiter, some sort of agency outside of us to bring these people in, or just let it happen organically?
No and no.
No?
No, I wouldn't let it happen organically, and you're not big enough to bring in a recruiter, and outside recruiters I've not had very much luck with. There are a few that you can use here and there, but in the construction world it's particularly hard. What we did at that stage was that we became internally very proactive. And so out of your 12 team, that's office people or what? Or supervisors or job?
Yeah, so there's 5, 6 in the office. The rest are foremen.
Okay, so
I
6
have an
foremen, 6
estimator.
office. Okay, so you got an office manager then.
Yes.
So what is it you're needing? You're needing more foremen and more subs?
Well, I feel like I would need more people internally to handle the load that we could possibly pick up.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that until I know for sure I can handle it internally. I don't want to outgrow ourselves.
I agree. So what areas would you need to, what positions would you need to fill to do the growth you're talking about?
Estimators and project managers.
Okay. All right, good.
Yep.
Good. And you have estimators on staff now?
I do.
And you have project managers on staff now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We still to this day pay a bounty to our team. And we say we need estimators and we need project managers. And if we hire one and they stay with us 90 days, meaning they work it out and they come through the onboarding process, and you referred them here, they came here because you brought them here, we will pay you $500. And for a while, and we may still do it, I have to go back and look, but for a while we were so desperate for programmers at our place, people writing code on the internet and so forth, building digital products, that we were paying $2,000 bounties for a tech person hire.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's cheaper than paying a recruiter, number one. Number two, the speech to our team sounds like this in staff meeting. Hey, we've got these types of positions to fill. If you know someone that is a thoroughbred that you would hire if you owned the company, only bring the best, because you're going to end up working beside them and you don't want a doofus.
Right.
And everybody has friends that are doofuses and crazies, and you know who your doofus and crazy friends are. Keep them out of here.
Right.
In the construction world, the good news about it is it's a grapevine. Everybody knows. And your estimator knows guys at other places that are doing this, and he knows project managers. Your project managers knows guys. I'd talk to your subs and ask them who some good supervisors are out there, who some good project managers are, who some good estimators are. And if they send you one, I'd pay them a bounty.
Right. Well, the problem we have here is there is a large company here that is paying 40+% more than the rest of us are to these positions. And, it's hard to entice someone that, that you can't compete with the company they're working for. And it's from estimators to field superintendents.
That's a different issue.
Yeah.
I mean, if the only labor you have available for these slots, you're getting outbid by 40%, that's different than how do I recruit? A recruiter can't solve that problem.
Well, right. So my thought was reaching outside of this area, maybe even to Nashville, getting someone to move in, but these days, where do you broadcast that from?
LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah.
ZipRecruiter, those kinds of things. You can drop it in there. You need to be real careful to put the filters on it so you don't get overwhelmed with a bunch of junk resumes.
I have tried that before.
And you just get you get an inbox full of trash.
Yes.
But yeah,
been there, done that.
So you got to put the filters on it and make it harder to get to, and so forth. And to keep the keep the crazies away, and everybody just. But
and I say
how are those guys making a profit?
They are owned by a larger firm that just want their revenue to borrow on credit lines. It's not even about that company. They just want to suck that money out of that company to invest in something else.
Well, there's not any money in that company if they're paying it all out in payroll.
That's kind of the problem with them. I guess it's just kind of moving money around to.
Now, that's not sustainable. Nobody's going to leave a division that's not profitable because they're overpaying for labor.
Well, when you're $300+ million a year,
you still don't do that. You don't get to be $300 million a year by being stupid.
Right.
And running an entire area of your company into the dirt because you're overpaying payroll, overpaying the market by 40% is not logical. So,
well, they moved into the area, said for 2 years they're going to build relationships and take losses on jobs if they have to, just to build those relationships. And then they sucked in all of these key components that we need and have just paid them ungodly money.
Yeah, I think you just had to outlast that. That's not your career problem. I mean, you've still got to hire the right people at the right price.
Yes.
And that's just noise over there to the side.
Yep.
That can't be your motivator. It can't be what's driving your decision making, because what they're doing is not sustainable. In 5 years, they'll be gone, or they will have adjusted their sales to the prevailing.
There's
winds.
some of that going on.
Yeah. One of the two, and like we had a local employer here that came in, moved to corporate office here, and they were doing the same thing. They were going around to all the other people like us, and they were offering more money and stealing people. They were poaching all over the place. And we kept telling our folks, guys, this is not going to last, and grass is not always greener over the septic tank. Hello. And so, we had 6 or 7 people out of our 1,100 go over there, and they're all gone now. They didn't stay. I think there's one over there still.
Well, I have 2 of their players.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. So because it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant to work there.
Right. No, it is. It wasn't.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, so that's white noise to the side. We couldn't let the local poacher just determine what we pay. The marketplace determines what we pay, what the value of that position is. And so just because somebody wanted to overpay, ridiculously, just to fill a seat over there, that's a temporary play. It doesn't play out. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. So you have to. So anyway, that's side noise over here. I'm going to run an internal referral program. I'm going to run a sub-referral program. And for that matter, if you know anybody in adjoining cities that you might talk to and just say, hey, if you know an estimator in Nashville, you mentioned Nashville, okay? If you know an estimator there, say, you might not be interested in moving down here, but anybody you send me, I'll give you $1,000.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Okay.
And that's you just need to get your grapevine moving and grease it a little bit with some money. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly ethical and not that, if somebody sends you 6 good people, send them on a cruise with their wife, for God's sakes.
That's not a bad idea.
That kind of stuff. I mean, because the word will get out then that Ken wants good people, and he has a really good way of saying thank you. Hey, folks, remember, better a weary warrior than a quivering critic. This world needs more high-quality leaders, so take courage and lead. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thanks for listening to the EntreLeadership Podcast.